Okay, so what we're going to do now is work on a couple different things in this tutorial just to show some ways to create some iterations of your animation that you created with a mask. Okay, and we're going to use a special type of mask. We're going to use a pen tool to create the mask for this exercise. So let me bring in my file that I created in After Effects and just drag it over. There we are. And you can see this is just what this is I use a smoke stroke, which is smoke is a particular, actually it's a smoke brush, okay? And this is a brush library that you can find online, and if anybody's interested, please tell me, I can send it to them. And what this is just a simple S stroke that I created in Illustrator, and then I outputted the file as a .ai file. That's it. Okay, so now what I want to do is create a background to this, so I just have a different contrast that will make it a little bit easier to work with for this exercise. So what I'm going to do first is select down the timeline so nothing is selected here. Then select a fill that will be white for this exercise, and then I want to just create that fill across. And then I need to exchange my layers because it will default make that layer I just created the top one, and I want to see the drawing I created, so I need to just exchange it so the drawing is on top of the shape that I created. Okay, so now we have that, and let me just select this so we can move this over, and I'm going to change the size of this just a little bit to bring it up. Now what I want to do is I'm going to create my mask. Okay, so when we start making our mask, as we saw in the other tutorials, we select on the layer and then go up to our tools up here that can help make our masks. Okay, so what we're going to use today, instead of the shapes, we're going to use the pen tool to create more elaborate masks that can be moved by points. Okay, so I'm going to create something that has a number of points. Okay, and you can see when I closed it, it created this, the drawing disappeared, and now this is the revealed area of the video. Okay, so now when I select on the selection tool and I select an individual point here, and then let me go down to this area, see, let me reveal the mask area here. This is the part that's going to change. You can see now that I created the first instance of the mask, I have a keyframe in the animation. So to make the next keyframe, let me move down here to 2 seconds, and then I want to select on a particular part of the mask, and you can see now I can move this out and then move this again and then move this down, and you can see it is adding in the frame, it's adding in the keyframes as I go along. Sorry about that. And one thing you'll see as I'm working with this, when we started doing this kind of work, it has this selected. So if this isn't working for you, make sure that this is highlighted in your work. Okay, so I'm just going to keep going down and adding to this animation until I have the whole stroke revealed. Okay, so now I have the stroke revealed, and I can go back in the timeline by seeing that mask move back and forth. Okay, so there is our animation, and if I was to then click the selection tool and select down here to make the mask disappear, I can then start this from the beginning and see the mask gradually reveal the shape. And you can see there's a hard line. That's from the line of the mask, but I can feather that edge to make that a little bit more vague, or make that a little bit softer is a better way of saying it. Okay, so the way I do that is I want to go back to the beginning here, and I'm just going to create an overall feather to the animation to the drawing. So I'm going to do about maybe 30, 33 here, and you'll see when I do that, it gradually brings that in and it kind of softens up the edge a lot more, so it's not as straight on the drawing. Okay, so that helps out a lot to make our drawing a little bit smoother when it is created. Okay, so now that that's done, now we're going to output this so it can be something that we can bring in again and again. So the first thing to do is we have this selected. I want to go up to Composition and then go down to Add to Render Queue. And you can see I have some other versions of this that I was working on. Just we can ignore those for now. And you can see here I have an output that's set for to name the file Smoke 2. Now what we're going to output for the time being is a QuickTime movie, and I'm just going to output this to my desktop. Okay. One thing to pay attention to is putting these media files in the right area, and so I'm putting them all in the desktop for now, and I can grab those and store them at a later location. If you have a project folder that you're working on for your larger project, I would suggest keeping everything in the same area at all times. So I'm going to save that. So I have that set up, and then I'm just going to render this out, and you can see now it's rendering the movie. There's a little yellow line that's going across, and it's also showing the rendering happening. Okay, and you can see now it's actually finished in the movie. I could have actually stopped the made the animation shorter because I'm only animating for a short period of time in the composition settings, but it doesn't really matter for this particular example. We'll just deal with what we got. Okay, so now what we can do is import that movie file, and there it is right there, Smoke 2. So now I have that here. Now I can just bring this in and add this to the movie. And you see something that's happened. We do have a white background, and I'll show you how to change that in a second. Okay, I'm going to leave this overlapped here, and I'm going to bring in a couple versions of this. Here, one down here. And I'm going to rotate this. So we can select the rotation tool, rotate like that, and then move this up and over here. Okay, so now what we're going to do is we're going to make this so we can see all three of these layers. Now this isn't that tricky to do, but it has some things you need to pay attention to. And this is using a thing called keying. Okay, so one thing, let me just get this one out of the way so we can just see these two working. Okay, so this one and this one, you can see there's a hard line here that we want to reveal the rest of this animation because it looks kind of strange. So with this one selected, I want to go up to Effects and select Color Key. And Color Key, what that will do is we can, wherever there's a similar color, we will be revealing the animation. You see, once I have this selected to white, you can see now we are starting to reveal the rest of this because this has kind of become transparent in a way. You can think of it that way. And what we can do just to make sure things are smooth enough, we can kind of feather the edge there and give a little bit of thinning there on that particular feature. Okay, so now we have these two revealed. Now that these will play together. Okay, so this is a good way to create multiple iterations of your file and to make this increase the complexity of the look of your file really quickly.